Hello, this is Lily Faye. Welcome to my channel, and this is the fourth tutorial in the Learn to Crochet series. If you haven't already viewed the first three, you're probably going to want to do that if you don't already know how to single crochet or how to make a slip knot such. The first tutorial will just basically, there's no hands-on technique in the first tutorial. It's basically just giving you a rundown of different types of yarn, different weights, and the tools that you need for the crochet. The second one, of course, covers the slip knot and the foundation chain. And the third tutorial covers the foundation row using single crochet stitches. So if you've already learned to do those things and you're ready to move on to the double crochet stitch, what I want you to do is chain 15, and then you're going to work one single crochet into each one of the back bumps. And remember that you'll lose a stitch when you work into the back bump. And so you're going to end up with 14 stitches. Now, I did forget to mention to you that I'm using US terminology. In the UK, the single crochet stitch is called a double crochet stitch. And in the UK, a double crochet stitch, what is in US terminology, is called a treble crochet stitch. So we're using US terminology. So what you would call a double crochet stitch in the UK, we call a single crochet stitch. So you're going to put a single crochet stitch into each one of these back bumps, and then when you finish doing that, go ahead and pause your video. When you finish that, then come back and your piece should look something like this. Okay, so when you've done that, let's just go ahead and move forward, assuming that you've paused and you've come back. You are now going with your single crochet stitches in. You're now going to turn your work, and the back side should look something like this. Now when you chain one, if we were going to chain one and finish and do another row of single crochet stitches, we chain one and we move over past this one into the second from the hook, as we stated before. Okay, but in this one, what we're going to do, because we're doing double crochet stitches, is we're going to chain two. All right, so we chain one if we're doing a single crochet stitch. We're going to chain two, and this chain two is actually going to count as a stitch. It does on the other as well. So of course we could skip this first stitch because this serves as our stitch. So we've chained two, that's our first stitch, and now we're going to move into the second stitch right here. How you do the double crochet stitch is you back your hook into, this is what you call yarning over, okay? You back your hook into the yarn and you wrap it around once. You go into that second stitch, you pull up a loop. You should have 3 loops on your hook. Let's repeat that, because if you're new to crocheting, you're learning. So if you're not new to it, then you might want to just move on to the next video when it comes out. But if you're new to crocheting, you're learning, then you probably need to really watch this carefully. And we'll repeat this several times. You're going to back the hook into the yarn and wrap it around. Now you're not going to wrap it a bunch. That's a different stitch. You're just going to wrap it around like that. Okay, you got a good look at that? You're going to stick it into the second stitch under both loops on this tutorial, okay? And pull up a loop. You should have 3 loops on your hook. Now you're just going to grab the yarn and pull it through 2 loops, the way you did when you did a single crochet, but you still have 2 loops left on your hook. That's because you've pulled a loop through. Okay, you had 3, you pulled a loop through 2, so the loop you pulled through plus the one remaining should leave you 2 loops. All right, so you back it up again and you grab the yarn and you pull through the last 2 loops. So you've got your first stitch and your second stitch. So let's move on to the next one. Again, we're going to back into it, wrap it around, Okay, so we're not going to wrap it around like that. We're just going to wrap it over, all right? Yarn over. We're going to move into that next stitch. We're going to go under both loops in this tutorial. We're going to pull the yarn through. We're going to grab the yarn and pull through 2. Grab the yarn and pull through 2 again. There we go. That's our third double, or if you're in the UK, treble crochet stitch. Do that again. Back it in and wrap it around. Insert it under both of those loops. Now remember, I told you this in the last tutorial, every stitch has 2 loops, a front loop and a back loop. So you'll either work under both loops, into the back loop, or into the front loop. It depends on your pattern and what your instructions say to do. Today we're working under both loops. Okay, pull through, we go through 2, and we go through 2. I'll move that up a little faster now, okay? A little faster. Back it up into under both loops, into the stitch under both loops. We're going to pull the yarn through, go through 2, go through 2. And you can just rewind this video and start over and just do it over and over until you get it right, okay? Back it in. Right, slide under both loops. Grab the yarn and pull through. 3 loops on the hook. Go through 2, go through 2. Now these stitches will look different depending on what type of yarn you're using and what your yarn weight is. So double crochet stitches can take on a little different look. They're basically the same, but they can be a little bit different depending on what yarn you're working with, okay? Let's just go ahead and I'll move that up, step that up again, okay? Back in, wrap over, into the stitch, both loops, pull through, go through 2, go through 2. All right, make sure, into the hook, and into the stitch, pull through, go through 2, go through 2, right? Back into the yarn, wrap it over, into the stitch, pull through, go through 2, go through 2, wrap it, into the stitch, pull through, 3 loops on the hook, go through 2, go through 2, okay? Again, back it in to the yarn, wrap it around into the stitch, pull the yarn through, 2 loops on the hook, pull the yarn through 2, pull the yarn through 2. Back your hook into the yarn, wrap it around just slightly there, put it into the stitch, pull the yarn through, go through 2, go through 2, and you can just watch, follow along, and do this tutorial as many times as you need to until you get that down. The final stitch, I go in, I pull the yarn through, I go through 2, I go through 2. Now, when I am ready, I've got some yarn in the way, I turn it over, and before I start, I have to chain 2. Again, that is my first stitch. So we're going to work into the second stitch from the hook, okay, not the first. We're going to wrap it around, insert the hook, pull it through, 3 loops on the hook, go through 2, go through 2, okay? So you'll just repeat that over and over as many times as you need to till you get it down. We'll take some practice. Just remember that it always takes a little bit of time for your brain and your fingers to start working it smoothly. You have to think about it too much. You fumble it. It doesn't quite come together until you've done it plenty of times. So instead of trying to do something big to start, just practice that. When you want to try to play with something, you think, well, I kind of got this, and you want to play with something, make yourself a little mini coaster if you want, a little square mini coaster if you want. You just chain one for a single crochet, skip the first stitch, and you can just do yourself a single crochet down here. And we're going to be learning different stitches that we do using this combination anyway, so that would be a really good little practice thing for you. If you feel like you've got it down and you just, I'm taking too long to get the next tutorial out, then you can mix it up a bit, play with it. All right, but just practice it over and over, and by the time we actually start to do projects, you'll have this down pat, and we can do some really cool stuff. So anyway, just some ideas for you to play with. Practice that stitch, back it up, do it over and over, come back to it as many times as you need to, and I'll see you on the next one. Share this, like it, and don't forget to subscribe.